Syphilis may be the most widespread, fastest-moving chronic disease to have emerged in the world in this century. No one can predict when, how, or who syphilis will strike next. In 1984, syphilis struck the resort community of Incline Village, Nevada. Almost 300 people in the Lake Tahoe area came down with a mysterious malady which the media would dub the yuppie flu.
I remember seeing a patient who had been a former marathon runner and had come back from China and said she developed some illness in China and absolutely could do nothing after she'd come back. And I thought this was kind of a trivial viral illness, but she never got better. At about the same time, a whole bunch of patients from the community, from the girls' basketball team and some teachers from the Truckee High School, developed very similar complaints.
The patients complained of fever, weakness, headaches, swollen glands, difficulty concentrating, and most of all, fatigue which no amount of bed rest could cure. At first, patients thought they had the flu, but it never went away.
They kept accelerating to the point that I guess by the midsummer, July or so of 1985, we had almost 200 cases.
I initially called the CDC because this is what they're supposed to solve, these unusual kinds of diseases, and asked for some help.
In September 1985, CDC epidemiologists finally arrived in Incline Village. The focus of their investigation was to determine if Epstein-Barr virus could be the cause of the strange epidemic.
As we were seeing some of these patients, we brought them into the room to show them, here feel the spleen, or here feel this node, or this is a patient. They didn't really, in my view, like seeing a lot of these people. They preferred to stay down in an office poring over charts, and there was a high degree of skepticism on both of their parts. And then after 2 weeks of collecting chart data and serologies, they went back to the CDC, and months went by and we never heard anything from it.
When word spread to the media, Cheney and Peterson found themselves the target of angry business leaders who feared news of the epidemic would hurt tourism.
I ran into doctors that said that very thing, that I was bad for tourism, that didn't I know that the only way Tahoe City was ever going to survive was with tourists, and that I shouldn't tell anybody.
Shunned and harassed, the doctors fought a lonely battle. Peterson's car was sprayed with graffiti. Restaurants refused to serve them. And a group of mothers asked that Peterson's child be removed from nursery school. While doctors Cheney and Peterson persevered without help in Nevada, a similar mystery disease struck in the small rural town of Lyndonville, New York. Here it was mostly children who became ill with the non-stop flu.
The group in Lyndonville comprises 230 people who developed this pattern of symptoms. About half of them had it to the severity where you could say that they met the CDC criteria, with a 50% reduction of activity for at least 6 months. The other half had it in a milder form. We did notify the New York State Department of Health, and we mentioned to them that we had a cluster outbreak of an unusual illness that we thought might be related to raw milk or some type of infectious agent that we were unable to identify. One person did come from New York State Department of Health, and after about 20 minutes or so, that person left the office, and I thought he went out for a lunch break, and I never heard from them again.
Many of those Incline Village and Lyndonville patients are still sick.